Hello students, welcome back to your economics class. Today we are going to look at the entire chapter, the story of village Palampur at a glance. We will look at all the topics we have covered in this chapter with all the important points. This will be your final class before your unit test examination. Please pay attention and do the chapter thoroughly. Do the textbook very well. Go through the chapter again and again and look at the understanding from a different angle. We are not going to be doing rote learning. It is about how you're going to analyze, evaluate, and apply your learning. In this chapter, we first were introduced to the Palampur village. We saw the kind of village Palampur was. It was an idealistic village. We saw that it was well connected with the neighboring towns and villages. There were transport systems like bullock carts, tongs, bogies, jeeps, etc. There is electricity, so there is electric powered tube wells are available, and it is an imaginary village. We also saw that there were 450 families which belonging to different castes. Out of them, 80 of them belong to the upper caste. You'll also saw that they have two schools, two primary schools and one high school. They also had one primary healthcare center, which was run by the government. You'll also saw that the houses, some of them are large, some of them are small, some are made of bricks, some are made of wood, some were made of mud, some were made of mud and straw. Then we saw the Dalits, that is the scheduled caste. They were 1/3 of the population and they lived in one corner of the village. So all these things we saw, we understood the entire scenario of Palampur, and then we went ahead and we understood the organization of production. Organization of production we saw was divided into four major parts: land, labor, physical capital, and human capital. Land is basically all the things that you need, which are natural resources. Okay, the requirement of is land and other natural resources such as water, forest, minerals. The second requirement for production was labor, that is who will do the work. So it could be educated people or it could be manual labor, physical labor, etc. Then we saw physical capital, which is again further subdivided into fixed capital and working capital. Fixed capital is something that will be used over the years. It is not going to be exhausted in during the production cycle. So it could be the tools and machineries that are used during the production process, tools, machines, buildings, the things that will not get exhausted. And then came the working capital. Working capital will be the raw material, the money, uh, the things that we require during the production that will exhaust during the production. Okay, so this capital is utilized. It's completely exhausted in the production cycle. And then we looked at the fourth uh, requirement of organization of production, that is human capital. And we know human capital is basically entrepreneurship. Okay, that is the knowledge to put together the land, labor, physical capital, the knowledge that is required, that is called human capital. Nowadays, initially it used to be called entrepreneurship and now it is called human capital. We have learned more about human capital in our next chapter, that is people as a resource. So this chapter is more closely related to the first three parts of the factor of production. So every production activity needs land, labor, physical capital, and human capital. And these together are known as factors of production. Then we looked at farming in Palampur, and the first thing we saw is that the land is fixed. We saw that farming is the main productive production activity, and all the land that is available in Palampur is cultivable land. That means there is no wastelands and there can be no expansions in the cultivable land in Palampur. Some wastelands have already been converted to cultivable lands, and now there is no extra lands that can be converted. So now the question came that, okay, if we cannot have more land, how do we still increase the production with the same piece of land? So we can do, we can grow more crops on the same piece of land. So in rainy season, we grow jawar and bajra. From October to between October and December, people are growing potato. In winter, wheat is sown. So this method is called multiple cropping, where you crop multiple things in the same land. Then the problem comes that if you're growing so many things, that means so many fertilizers are going in, so many, uh, you're constantly using the land. Will the land sustain? Will the fertility of land remain the same? For that, we need to be taking into consideration the correct and the appropriate and the careful utilization of the land. Modern methods have overused the natural resource base. Because of the modern methods, our natural resource base has been overused, and that has led to the loss of soil fertility due to increased use of chemical fertilizers, especially because of these fertilizers. So, how is the land actually distributed amongst the farmers of Palanpur? Now, people have insufficient land for cultivation because around one third of people in Palampur, they are landless, and cultivating from small plots of land is not bringing enough income. The ones who are in working in the smaller plots of land, they need to do extra jobs to keep their life to keep moving. So, and also we looked at the scenario where a family, although they have a big plot of land, but if they're more like if there's more than one child, then after the parents' demise, the land is divided, and then it will be again further divided and further divided and further divided. That means there is no uh, it means that the production will keep going down. It's never going to increase. Then we spoke about who will provide the labor, and you all saw that the landless farmers and the small farmers, they are the ones who provide labors, okay, and they not only cultivate in their own lands, and besides doing that, they provide the labor. So they are working on two farms, their own and also as a farm laborer at someone else's farm. Medium and large farmers hire the farm laborers. Then we spoke about the capital that is needed in farming. Most small farmers, they borrow money from the big farmers, okay, and medium and large farmers, they have their own savings, so they don't need to borrow money. But why don't these small farmers go to the banks? Because A, most of them are unaware. B, they don't know the process, they don't know how to go about it. C, they find it, they do not trust the banks enough. There are many villages out there who don't trust the banking system. There are so many schemes which are made for them, but I don't think they're correctly implemented. So the capital, it comes from loans. And finally, what happens to the surplus farm products? So surplus farm products are normally sold in the market and they bring in more income. Next, we spoke about the non-farm activities in Palampur. So besides farming, there are some non-farm activities. Example, there is transport, which is a fast developing sector. So we had seen this, we had seen an example where I forgot the name of the villager, he got a bullock cart. He had got a bullock, and then the bullock used to help in the farming, and then as a bullock cart, they used to even use the bullock to transport them from one place to another. So transportation is a non-farm activity that is practiced in Palampur. Some other activities are shopkeepers. Some people have, transformed one part of their house to make it a shop. Then small scale farming, small scale industries are there. There is small scale manufacturing like jaggery manufacturing. For the ones who are growing sugarcane, they can just buy one device, one instrument, one machine to convert the sugarcane into jaggery. And then, of course, dairy is another common activity. So lots of questions can come from this chapter. We've even shared the paper pattern with you. So keep that in mind while you're studying. Keep your book handy. Go through that chapter very thoroughly. Mark your answers behind the question answers over there so you can relate to them very well. With this, I end today's class. Stay home, stay safe, dear. Take care and keep learning.